What's up, fight fans? Welcome back to KO with Kyle. I'm your host, Kyle. Today we'll be doing a recap of UFC Fight Night Robert Whittaker versus Kelvin Gastelum, as well as a forecast of UFC 256 Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal 2. There's a lot to get into. It was a good fight night. It's going to be a really exciting pay-per-view. So without any further ado, let's get into it. Starting off the prelims of the Whittaker versus Gastelum card, we had Anthony Burchack versus Tony Gravely. It was a dominant performance by Gravely. Anyone who bet on him, that was a really safe bet as it turns out. Next up at lightweight, it was Dakota Bush versus Austin Hubbard. That was like a Denver guy versus a Missouri guy, so it's where I'm from versus where I'm currently living, so that was cool. It ended up being a unanimous decision for Hubbard. Then Gerald Meerschaert looked really good on his comeback fight from the Hamzat loss, and he got a round one submission with a guillotine. Then there was Jessica Penne made her return after a long absence versus Lupe Godinez, and Penne got the split decision. I thought it was pretty close overall. And then there was Juana Spino versus Alexander Romanov. That one was a really good fight. I thought Spino definitely had what it takes to win that fight, but there was a groin kick, and Romanov claimed that he couldn't straighten his legs, so he couldn't continue the fight. So they scored 2 and like a third of round 3. They scored it somehow for Romanov. I don't know if they were like deducting a point or whatever for the groin strike, but somehow Romanov got the technical decision win for that one. Next up, there was Luis Pena versus the great wrestler Munoz. And Munoz did a really good job with takedowns and calf kicks. Pena started touching him more when he got more comfortable. It looked pretty good. It was a split decision, and Pena got the win. Then there was Tracy Cortez versus Justine Kish. And there was multiple takedowns from Cortez and some ground and pound. Kish was finding some of her shots as well. It ended up being a split decision for Cortez. And at middleweight on the main card was Abdul Razak Alhassan versus Jacob Malkoun. I didn't expect Malkoun to do so well with his wrestling, and he just kind of controlled the whole fight with the grappling, and Alhassan's KO power was never demonstrated, so it was a unanimous decision win for Malkoun. And then at heavyweight, we had Andrei Arlovsky versus Chase Sherman. Arlovsky just did really good, he stayed in it. He's got the endurance at his age. It's amazing, but he outlanded more strikes. He outstruck rounds 2 and 3, so he got the unanimous decision win in the co-main event. And then at the main event, at middleweight, Kelvin Gastelum versus Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker was landing his head kick punch combos. It was really beautiful. He was doing a lot of damage to Gastelum. Anytime Gastelum would try to come in, Whittaker was tagging him. Whittaker actually got some takedowns on Gastelum. I thought Gastelum had a good round 3, but all 3 judges scored it a 50-45 unanimous decision win for Robert Whittaker. So I really thought Whittaker deserved the title shot after such a dominant performance over someone as esteemed as Kelvin Gastelum, but it looks like they're giving Marvin Vettori the rematch first against Israel Adesanya for the title. So I think it's a little unfair. Vettori got a win by out-wrestling Kevin Holland. Whittaker got a win by outstriking and out-wrestling Kelvin Gastelum to a degree that was a much better performance than Izzy put on when he fought Kelvin Gastelum. So, nevertheless, they're doing the Vettori versus Adesanya rematch, as it turns out, just been talked about. So, moving on, let's forecast the UFC 256, Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Starting off the main card at light heavyweight, we have Anthony Smith versus Jimmy Croot. Both fighters have several wins by submission. Smith is 34-16 professionally, so a little bit later in his career. Croot is 12-1 professionally, so a lot earlier in his career. I like Croot's ability to get a finish and his stand-up game. I don't believe Smith will dominate Croot on the feet, and I don't think he'll tap him out, so I'm picking the favorite, Jimmy Croot. Next up at middleweight, we have a rematch between Uriah Hall and Chris Weidman. Their first fight was not in the UFC, and it was early in their careers, but Hall lost to Weidman by TKO in their first fight 11 years ago. Hall has 4 wins in his last 5 fights. Weidman only has 2 wins in his last 5 fights. I would expect this fight ends by TKO one way or the other. I'm not sure who to pick. The Vegas odds has it completely even. But for the sake of the show, I'm picking Uriah Hall. Next up, for the women's flyweight championship, we have Valentina Shevchenko defending her belt against Jessica Andrade. Jessica Andrade is a former UFC strawweight champ. Shevchenko is the current UFC flyweight champ with 4 successful title defenses. Shevchenko is on a 6-fight win streak. Andrade has 3 wins in her last 5 fights. Shevchenko has 5 wins in her last 5. I think Andrade will threaten with takedowns and slams, but Shevchenko will keep the distance on the feet. Andrade is a live dog and a good bet at plus 300 odds, but I'm picking the heavy favorite to win, Valentina Shevchenko. In the co-main event at women's strawweight, for the women's strawweight championship, we have the champion Weili Zhang defending against Rose Namajunas. Rose is a former UFC strawweight champ with 1 successful title defense. Weili is the current UFC strawweight champ with 1 successful title defense. Rose handled Joanna Jędrzejczyk twice more decidedly than Weili Zhang did in her split decision win over Joanna. Rose is a live dog at plus 155 odds. Weili is so muscular and fit, I think her mindset is stronger as well. So I'm picking the champion, Weili Zhang. And then in our main event, for the welterweight championship, we have Kamaru Usman versus Jorge Masvidal. Usman is on a 13-fight win streak in the UFC. Usman has the most consecutive wins at welterweight. Masvidal won the BMF belt in a dominant win over Nate Diaz. Masvidal has KO power, but Usman is just too good technically. Usman won his season of The Ultimate Fighter. I think Masvidal would have to get really lucky to beat Usman. I'm picking the heavy favorite Usman, and I like the under 4.5 rounds. Kyle's fight picks. In Kyle's fight picks, I have Jimmy Croot, Uriah Hall, Valentina Shevchenko, Weili Zhang, and Kamaru Usman. Next time we'll be recapping UFC 256 as well as forecasting the next fight night. So please subscribe so they never miss out on our timely content. And until next time, fight fans,